Well, this absolutely sucked. I have spent weeks, literally since before the season started, trying to trade away Rhamondre Stevenson. Every single sell high video we made all year, Rhamondre has been on it, with the one thing in mind, that this Patriots offense was consistently projected by sportsbooks, which y'all know I trust with my whole heart, to be the worst offense in the NFL. And yeah, we'll talk about what to do with Rhamondre. We'll update Rhamondre in our rankings later in the video. First, let's go over to the Jets, right? Looking at the Jets, I mean, if you started really anybody here, you're pretty happy. Going over to Rodgers. Rodgers actually finally has some passing volume, and this is a game where he wasn't really forced to throw the ball. The New England Patriots offense could never get it moving downfield. So it is kind of surprising to see you had 35 pass attempts for Rodgers in this kind of environment. Now, of course, there were just a ton of plays run by this team. You had 33 rushing attempts as well. But this Jets offense looked like they were easily able to move the ball down the field. While this Patriots offense is the worst offense in the NFL, the Patriots defense is respectable, right? So you have to give Jets the credit where credit is due. Rodgers looked good. Are you excited about Rodgers himself in fantasy football going into the future? No, you're not. He's not going to run the ball really at all. I understand he picks up 18 rushing yards this week, but that ain't happening again going into the future. And yes, y'all have no idea how sad I am regarding Rhamondre Stevenson. I'm delaying the Stevenson discussion as long as I possibly can. Going over to the running backs for the Jets here. Now, this is something that's worth talking about. I tweeted this during the game that Braelon Allen would be the starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys, the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, Pacheco has a broken leg. The Las Vegas Raiders, the Denver Broncos, the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Nick Chubb's knees destroyed. The Cincinnati Bengals, the Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants, the Carolina Panthers with Brooks on the IR, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Chicago Bears. Braelon Allen looked so damn good in this game. Off of 11 carries, he had 55 rushing yards. Now, typically, your yards per carry can get dramatically skewed based off one big long run. No, he only had his longest run of 11 yards. This was just consistent efficiency, looked phenomenal every single time he touched the ball. And at the same time, with Braelon Allen, you actually get some involvement as a receiver here as well. He has 3 targets for 3 receptions and 13 receiving yards. So Braelon Allen was just phenomenal in this game for a backup running back here with the Jets. Now, my previous statement with Allen was he was a running back that we could be excited about as a premium handcuff RB. If you were to see an injury to Breece Hall, all of a sudden Braelon Allen was a low-end RB1 in fantasy, very similar to the Zach Charbonnet situation with Kenneth Walker. But I didn't necessarily think that Braelon Allen had any reliability in a game in which Breece Hall played. And honestly, we may end up having to change our mind about that. Let's go over to the site real quick. Just give me 1 second to share this. Should have done this before we started streaming. But anyway, let's update this ranking for Braelon Allen, because obviously this is embarrassing to have him down here with the Ty Chandler, Bucky Irving, Blake Corums of the world based off what we just saw. I think you immediately jump him over Irving, Corum, Hubbard, Rico, Edwards. I think you jump him over Zamir at minimum. He goes to the Spears Chase Brown range. I'd rather have him than Chase Brown as well. If I got offered Braelon Allen for Austin Eckler in the Flock League right now, I'd probably rather have Allen. I think we move Braelon Allen up to about RB 39. Because if you were in a pinch, even with, probably going to drop Mostert just a bit with the Tua injury. But if you were in a pinch and you really needed to go through and start Braelon Allen, I think you could in a bye week in an injury situation. And then obviously you had the premium handcuff appeal where if you were to have an injury to Breece Hall, Braelon Allen becomes a league winner. I know people are not going to like the Trey Benson ranking. My thought process with Trey Benson is, could I potentially see Benson taking over as the starting running back by the time we get to week 17 with no injury? Yes. And I say this as someone who has James Conner as their RB1. Now, at the same time, with Braelon Allen, I can't see him jumping Breece Hall outside of an injury. So I'm going to leave Allen here at RB 39. Maybe we can revisit this later on, but let's move on from Braelon Allen. So obviously the conversation is, oh, with Allen, maybe he just had this massive role because it was a blowout game. Maybe Breece Hall was not a 3-down workhorse because the New England Patriots got boat raced. No. I see people in the live chat saying that, and that is not the case. Braelon Allen had the job from the very beginning of the game. He was seeing work here for the Jets. Now, that doesn't stop Breece Hall himself still from being an elite level option. And Breece Hall is still a top 3 running back for me in fantasy right now. Like, going ahead and looking at my running back rankings coming into this week, I had Bijan 1, Breece 2, Saquon 3, Gibbs 4, Achane 5. Honestly, I don't think this changes at all here. You still have a massive workload as a receiver for Breece Hall. You still have the red zone opportunities. What would drop Breece Hall behind these guys like Barkley, Gibbs, Achane is if all of a sudden Braelon Allen actually sees some work as a receiver. As a goal line back. He already has some usage in the receiving game. But as it stands right now, Breece is still the RB2 in fantasy. He is still a phenomenal elite level asset. This is a super high value backfield, especially if you think that Rodgers is back and you're going to have efficient quarterback play. And I still stand by. I think that Breece Hall is a top 3 talent at the running back position in the NFL. And it's a very good offense. It's not a Zach Wilson offense. So Breece Hall can still be elite in fantasy. Now going over to Tyler Conklin. Tyler Conklin has 93 receiving yards and 5 receptions. So this means that with Tyler Conklin, with how the tight end position has been so far this season, Tyler Conklin is now my tight end 1 overall. This is somebody that we have to be starting every single week. He is going to probably outscore every tight end in fantasy combined. Now, obviously, I'm joking here. Obviously, we're going to have to move this guy down. All right, but where do we actually put Tyler Conklin? I'd still very easily rather have Isaiah Likely. We probably move Conklin about to tight end 16. Definitely a streaming option. I don't want to be overreacting here just based off of one solid game. Now, going over to the receivers, immediately everybody hits the full-blown panic button with Garrett Wilson when you have the early touchdown for Allen Lazard. And I'm sorry if I told you not to start Allen Lazard last week. I'm sorry if I told you not to start Allen Lazard this week. I still stand by Allen Lazard being somebody that you can't start in this offense. Real quick, shout out the guy who at the Flock meetup a couple of years ago made me this cup. Appreciate it, my guy. Appreciate it. Use it all the time. But anyway, looking at this, with Lazard, if you are looking at the Mike Williams usage, Mike Williams is continuing to get more and more involved in this offense. You actually have 4 targets for Mike Williams, whereas you have 3 targets for Allen Lazard here. I don't know. I don't think either wide receiver is somebody that you can comfortably be excited with. Obviously, if you had him like an underdog best ball draft, and cool, they randomly pop off, score a touchdown, yay you. But I don't necessarily think you can start Lazard just because he scores a TD here. Same thing, Mike Williams clearly is not startable if Allen Lazard has any role whatsoever. The only guy that remains a must-start player every single week is Garrett Wilson. Now, what was so funny, you can tell this is getting to Wilson's head, right? I mean, you could see it just on the TV screen. Let me know if y'all thought the same thing. But Garrett Wilson gets, I don't know, what was it, like it was like a 10-yard reception, something. He picks up the first down. He gets tackled at like the 3-yard line. He extends. Clearly, the Jets are going to score a touchdown. They have 4 downs to go to get 3 yards. But he is so pissed. He looks like the man just got fired from his job because he didn't score a touchdown. He looked like he bet every penny to his name that he was scoring a touchdown this week. Like, he got up and he was irate. And then immediately what the Jets did is they went, okay, yeah, Garrett Wilson, he needs a touchdown. It's getting to his head. And they schemed up just a little gimme play for him to stick the ball in front of the pylon. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, it looks like everybody saw that. I mean, he was funny. I was sitting there laughing at the TV screen how mad he was that he didn't get the touchdown on the box score. But anyway, they gave it to him anyway. And if you're looking at Garrett Wilson in our rankings rest of season, nothing changes. Obviously, it was that buy low guy for us coming into the week, just based off the assumption that the overall passing volume here with the Jets was going to go dramatically up. And Wilson had continued to dominate the market share numbers here through the first 2 weeks. This game, he has 9 targets, 5 receptions, 33 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. So by no means is this some elite level performance. He gives you 14 points. I had Garrett Wilson at wide receiver 7. To be honest, after this week, especially now that we're going to be a week closer to A.J. Brown kind of coming in. I think I may move Wilson down. I may throw in the towel and move Garrett Wilson down to wide receiver 9 at this point. Like, obviously, people are not going to be panicking too much here because he did come away with the touchdown. But it was there. It would have been a very different story. Like, if you take away, say, 3 receiving yards, the reception, and the receiving touchdown, and the stat line at the end of the day here for Garrett Wilson was 4 receptions for 30 receiving yards, people would be losing their mind. And honestly, I see in the chat saying, like, not going to lie, I have Rice above Garrett. I'm not going to lie, you're 100% right on that call. I think we have to move Rashee Rice over Garrett Wilson, especially knowing that you are not going to have Hollywood back at any point this year. And honestly, I'm not going to move Ayuk ahead of him just yet. Let's actually see Ayuk produce. But I think, yeah, Wilson does have to fall. I mean, this is 3 weeks into it. I still view him as wide receiver 1 rest of the season because he does still have the market share numbers here. But if Lazard and Mike Williams are both going to be viable, I think you have to knock Wilson. But outside of that, nothing else really matters here. None of these secondary pieces really move the needle. All that happens is Braelon Allen cements himself. Yes, he's one of the most premium handcuff backs in the league. If Breece Hall were to go down, Braelon Allen is immediately a low-end RB1 in fantasy. He would be the next Jordan Mason. Maybe even a little bit better because he'll catch the ball. He is even a viable play with Breece Hall in the lineup. If you are desperate, if it's a bye week, and ultimately you're dealing with some injuries and you have little depth, then sure, you can go ahead and you can throw him in. Obviously, I wouldn't be super excited about it, but you can. Now let's go over to the Patriots. And this is what just freaking kills me here. Kills me. And that I went through and every single day put Rhamondre Stevenson on the trade block in the Flock League. Every single day. And I made a video every single week saying, sell high on Rhamondre Stevenson, sell high on Rhamondre Stevenson, sell high on Rhamondre Stevenson. And you know what these guys in the Flock League did to me? You know what kind of offers I was getting for Rhamondre. I took a screenshot of this one because it was so bad. This is before the game. This isn't after the game. I promise you, every single week I was pestering people with Stevenson offers. I could not get this guy off my team to save my freaking life. And like I said, every single day, I didn't have an issue with the player. I had an issue with the offense. This is what I was getting. Friggin' Danny over here was offering me DeMarcus Robinson and Carson Steele. How am I supposed to accept that? Obviously, now after the game, doesn't look as insulting, but coming into it, dear God. But this is what we talked about the issue with Rhamondre Stevenson being. Vegas sportsbooks were consistently projecting this to be the worst offense in the NFL. Y'all know I'm a sucker for those sportsbook projections, and I'm the first person to admit that we need to listen to them. They have more data points than you do. They have more data points than I do. And yes, they are right more than they are wrong. This is what happens when you roster one of those running backs and one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Some people will tell you, oh, no, he's their only good player. He's going to get all the usage. Those people don't know what they're talking about. It doesn't matter if he gets, quote unquote, all the usage. If their offense can't pick up a first down, their offense has no trips to the red zone, it doesn't freaking matter. Now, in terms of the usage for Rhamondre Stevenson, this game, it is thrown off a bit. Rhamondre gets like a little finger injury, has to leave for a part of it. Obviously, at the end, you get Antonio Gibson. The game's just an absolute blowout. You have the fumble for Rhamondre Stevenson. So I believe in my matchup this week, Rhamondre Stevenson has started me off with a cool 0.3 fantasy points. Let's see if you can see this. Come on. Focus in, camera. We got a good 0.03 fantasy points. Thank you, Rhamondre Stevenson. Now, where do we have to move Rhamondre Stevenson down to in our rankings? Luckily for me, I never really bought into this Pats offense, so I don't necessarily think we have to move him down too much. But at this point, you cannot make an argument for Rhamondre over any of Dobbins, Pollard, Jones, Montgomery. The offense is simply too bad. where you begin to get into interest. You know what? I may sell Rhamondre Stevenson for Zach Moss today. Whoever has Zach Moss in the flock league, send me an offer. I'm so pissed. I may sell Rhamondre straight up for Moss. As both running backs fall in a similar mold to me. For me. They're pretty much 3-down backs. They have maybe a complimentary running back in their own backfields. But the difference is, well, maybe you want to say, oh, Rhamondre Stevenson's a little more talented. Who gives a damn? Zach Moss is what projects to be a borderline top 5 offense rest of season. The Pats will be absolutely garbage. So I think we have Rhamondre Stevenson at RB24. I don't know if I can move him behind Jonathan Brooks, because Brooks is going to be in the same situation as well. Jonathan Brooks is going to be in an absolute garbage offense. Can't move him behind Najee. Najee's in a garbage offense in Pittsburgh, and he's splitting the backfield. Brian Robinson's in a bad offense, and he's splitting. DeAndre Swift's in a bad offense, and he's splitting. So I think Rhamondre Stevenson's going to be here at 24 for me. Now, going over to what we have with the rest of this Patriots offense. Obviously, none of the receivers are worth the Ross spot outside of maybe Jalen Polk, if you think somehow he can get better going into the future. But I know Demario Douglas has the 9 targets for the 69 receiving yards. So the market share numbers are insane. And whenever we look at an offense like, say, the Green Bay, not the Packers, they have maybe the Packers right now. And we go, okay, if you look at the target share of Jaden Reed, when they get Jordan Love back in, Jaden Reed's going to crush. Well, here with Demario Douglas, doesn't matter what the target share is, this offense is going to be garbage. I don't care. I don't really want to roster him. What's the true upside there? You kind of say the same thing with Jalen Polk. Anybody who got suckered into playing Hunter Henry this week got 2.9 points. So I don't know if I'm sitting here with this Pats offense. The only guy I was interested in previously was Rhamondre Stevenson. And now we've seen the true floor for Rhamondre. A cool 0.3 fantasy points in your lineup. I just got a text from the person with Zach Moss saying I'm not getting Zach Moss. That's great. So I'm stuck with Rhamondre. I have no running backs. I have nothing interesting to talk about for this Pats offense. It's pain. It sucks. It's not fun. I really hope we never get a Patriots primetime game again. We can say, oh, we saw Drake May at the end of the game. Isn't that fun? Oh, yeah, we got 8 pass attempts for 22 passing yards. Riveting. I was jumping on my seat with joy. Ooh, our savior's here. No. Who freaking cares? Okay. So, fantasy sucks. I'm going to end this live stream. I'm going to go cry myself to sleep with my 0.3 fantasy points. Now, I will say I'm still 2-0. I'm still the team of destiny. So this means instead of Jamar Chase dropping 30 points on Monday night, I'll just need Jamar Chase to drop 40. But much love, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to need it. And yeah, if you want to see what we were talking about with the Jets, reverse to the beginning of this video. You can see it there. But I really do appreciate you. Really hope that you played against Rhamondre Stevenson. You didn't have him in your lineup. And yeah, if somehow you haven't already, pick up Braelon Allen off the waiver wire if your league's shallow enough. Much love, and I will see you tomorrow.